All right, so this is not a trick question, real question. Why would you buy a smaller, less practical version of an already pretty established, well-liked crossover SUV? Well, because it looks sick. That's the obvious real answer, that's why. So Hyundai has been doing a pretty great job lately. They've got this lineup now that has the IONIQ 5, which I talked about. It's the crossover. And then the IONIQ 6, which is this sedan built on the same platform. And then the IONIQ 7, which is going to come later, is going to be this like larger SUV. But with this car, Hyundai has done a lot of things right. I really like it. I'm almost kind of spoiling it at the beginning of the video. It does actually sort of look like the shape of a Magic Mouse, which might be the worst thing about it. Actually, hold that thought. The worst thing about this car easily is this key. What happened? The design here was so sick. And then this key is like this cheap plastic looking like almost like a toy, like a Tamagotchi toy or something like that. I don't know. It's functional. It works. It's just, whatever. It's the weirdest part about it. But let's just start with the design, because this is the biggest difference between this and the IONIQ 5 is, well, it's a full-size sedan now instead of a crossover. And so you get all the benefits and all the technical drawbacks of having a bit less space, but I really like this. So like I said, we're looking at a car that's built on the same platform as the IONIQ 5. So similar wheelbase, maybe even the same wheelbase. You've got 20-inch wheels here with all-season tires, and it's doing the classic EV thing where it looks really sporty, but then you see a whole bunch of aero covers in these spots to make it a little bit more efficient. And so speaking of efficiency, this all-wheel drive version with dual motors will get about 250 miles of range out of a 77 kilowatt-hour battery. Now for the money, I would prefer a bit more range. I'd like to see somewhere in the 300+ mile range for $50,000, but it does support a 350 kilowatt charging back here at the few chargers that actually support that. So if you can find an Electrify America charger or something at a super high rate of speed, you can get from 10 to 80% in under half an hour, which is pretty sweet. But I think what's the most interesting about IONIQ 5 is the design. I mean, I'm getting a lot of baby Porsche vibes back here, and it still keeps a lot of the really cool like pixel art design from the lights. IONIQ 5 did the same thing. The spoiler light back up here, and then of course the front lights and the mirror lights all have this pixel design that I'm a huge fan of. Like, what do you think of this front? It is unique to me. I think some people said it looked a little bit Model 3 with the headlights, but again, if I hit the lights here, you can see these are the daytime running amber LEDs, and then you get the headlights in here that look really sick. I'm a fan. It's got this sort of an angular front. Apparently these front flaps can open. I haven't seen them do that in this weather in the Northeast, but that's pretty cool too. And then no front trunk, but that's the front side. Actually here, technically, I'll show you exactly what we're working with. I said no front trunk, but you can, if you really want to, open up the front, and this is theoretically a front trunk. I mean, I don't know, half a backpack? I can't fit my real backpack in there. If you got a laptop, maybe? I don't know. That technically exists, but there's a whole bunch of other electronics up here that contribute to the front trunk being tiny. So I think we should look at the real trunk. So here's the rear end. Look at this thing. IONIQ 5, got the silver badging. Almost a sort of iconic vertical lights here around this diffuser, and then you've got this little pixel themed button alongside the rear view camera, power opening liftgate, and a pretty good sized trunk. I mean, it's a sedan, it's not gigantic, but a little bit of sub trunk space for your charging stuff. This pops down here, and I think that's solid. Golf clubs, check. Suitcases, check. Luggage, check. Multiple backpacks, check. Like, this vehicle has started to win a lot of awards lately, and I'm fairly sure it's just because it has all of the basic checkbox. It has a decent range, it has a relatively reasonable entry starting price of $45,000, and the design and feature set is pretty unique and desirable. There's even like a vehicle to load charging feature where you can charge other things from the charge port of the car, which is pretty cool. But this big slopey back, this is what it's all about. This is what you're getting instead of the IONIQ 5's like big open hatchback being a crossover. Now again, if I'm gonna get this, which has so many good angles and so many ways it looks really good, but if I'm gonna get this over the IONIQ 5, the back seat is probably not one of my biggest priorities, but I want to show it to you anyway. So these door handles fold flush, and then when you open them, they just pop open like this. You've got colored door jambs, IONIQ 6 little plastic plaque here. This is the 6'3" driving position, and I'm going to step in here. I think that's pretty good. Now, being a sedan, yeah, the back seat is a weakness compared to the IONIQ 5. It's not going to be as good of an experience. It's still pretty good as a sedan, but things like this sloping roofline, which look cool from the outside, are a little bit encroaching on the headroom if you're 6'3", like I am. But the floor is flat. There's a good amount of legroom like I showed you. And then there's just a whole lot of minimalism. This feels like a well thought out but still minimal interior. Look at this stuff. Like, I'll talk about materials in a second, but 2 USB-C ports back here, a little bit of storage, vents, but also full outlet, 110 volt outlet down here. You got nets, you got a really simple armrest with just cup holders, flat floor, and again, like I said, decent legroom. And it's not some huge, gigantic sunroof. It's actually just the moonroof over the front 2 passengers, which can be covered or open if you want it to. But it feels like this car is winning the awards because of the minimal but very direct design. Like this pixel pattern here, these nice lines and stripes, pretty minimal door. It's not like the materials are amazing, but it's very well thought out visually, and the aesthetics sort of match the entire cabin all the way around. So I think they've done a good job. But let's talk materials and a lot more of that stuff in the front seat. So here we go. Front seat, cockpit experience. This is the priority of a vehicle like this. If you're going to get it over IONIQ 5, you want it to motorize you into place, and here we go. So this is, again, getting into the territory of, would you spend $45,000 to $55,000 on a Hyundai? Does that matter to you, or is it just about the actual experience of the individual vehicle? I can't speak for longevity, but speakers and materials and things like that in here feel like a $25,000 to $45,000 car. A lot of fabric, a lot of plastic and recycled materials. Again, it's more about the aesthetic, and I really like the way the things are laid out in here. This screen looks better, even though it's running the same software, it looks better than the IONIQ 5. It's got these nice little winglets up to the side. It frames the display nicely. Like, I have no complaints aesthetically, but there are gonna be people who are like, well, I wish it was leather. I wish there was a little more fancy trim, little carbon fiber, a little bit of metal, and there isn't really any of that in here. But really the main thing that they did here that stands out versus the IONIQ 5 is, again, same software experience. Like, there's a screen here and a screen here. The dash has all the same graphics, and you still have the drive mode button where you can change it to sport mode and things turn red and these lights turn red. You can go to eco mode. If you can hold it down long enough, you get to snow mode. You still have all the same software over here. You have CarPlay and Android Auto, but it's wired, not wireless. You must plug in for that. Basically exactly the same climate controls and all the same things that I liked versus didn't like over here. Fine. But really they've moved all the stuff that's usually on the door over to the middle, and they focus more stuff on the middle, so you feel kind of more like you're in a cockpit, and it's a little more of a sporty driving experience, if you will. So only thing over here is the door and the memory for the seats. Over here you have lock and unlock, window switches, window lock, brake hold, cup holders, whole bunch of storage in here, 2 USB-C ports for power, your USB-A port for your CarPlay or Android Auto, and your wireless charger. Now, this wireless charger spot, it's fine. I've been known to just drop my phone in there out of habit, and unfortunately it does slide around just a little bit. It's much better than like putting it in a cup holder. When you drive a little bit interestingly or having any fun in this car, this thing slides all over the place. But putting your phone in this wireless charger spot, there is enough traction, a little bit of grip, that it doesn't really move very much, which is good. You also got a little bit of a light there. So yeah, all your controls are in the middle, a little bit of storage down here underneath, which is good to see. And that's the biggest difference on the interior layout versus IONIQ 5. There's also a nice little LED strip here, if you can see that. It looks a lot better at night. This feels like a car that if you gave me a certain budget to develop a car in this price range, $50,000 US, this is probably about where I'd end up. Meaning I couldn't jump on the Tesla Supercharger network for free, but this is as good as you can do as far as having a sporty aesthetic, having features like a sunroof that fully opens, or is it a moonroof? We've been talking about this at the studio. Sunroof, moonroof, is it both? Is it neither? I don't know. But it opens, which is pretty sick. And you have a whole bunch of space, and you have a back seat, and you have a trunk, and it's real. And this is a really nice, minimal, well laid out interior without being overly nice in the materials department, which would drive up the price. You can get a much nicer interior for $50,000, but then it won't be electric. So yeah, it's like, as far as recommending something like this, the real question is like, if you spent $50,000 on a car, like, would this bother you, or would that, or that, would any of that stuff really make you mad? Or would it just come down to the fact that, oh, now I have a sedan, it's a little sportier looking, and the driving experience is kind of fire? So I've spent the better part of the last week driving this car, getting to know it, what it does well, what it doesn't. It does have the several driving modes like I mentioned. In regular driving mode, it feels just like a regular EV. It actually shows me my miles per kilowatt hour, and it hovers around 3 miles per kilowatt hour. It's pretty efficient, actually. And so you really do get like the true 250 miles of range driving in normal mode. The second you go to sport mode, it's really mostly just a different throttle map. Like, I don't feel a big difference in suspension. It's not like everything lowers down to the ground and feels much tighter. It's more just like the accelerator pedal is more aggressive. And so as soon as you flip it, you feel the car sort of lurch forward. And then you're in sport mode and things are pretty zippy, and you can very quickly start to explore the limits of what this drivetrain is capable of. It's not Kia EV6 GT fast. It's barely Tesla Model 3 performance fast, but it is quite zippy, especially in the early 0 to 40 mile an hour range. And that's where most of the fun is had in an EV like this, zipping around the city, merging, getting on ramps and things like that. It's like, yeah, this thing does awesome for that. But yeah, I'm actually impressed that you are getting the true 250 miles that it's claiming to, which I wish it was more, but at least it's true to what it's claiming. And the amount of regen that you can add is also really nice. So I was talking about these paddle shifters that they added behind the steering wheel before, which a couple other EVs have, and like, you switch it all the way to level 4 and the most regen possible, it is very strong. It is very, very strong. And so the one pedal driving experience becomes awesome, and you can sort of flip that on and off for people with different levels of regen. So I like that a lot. It really is all about the aesthetics though, isn't it? I mean, it's on the same platform, it's running the same software, it's functionally an IONIQ 5. Oh, it doesn't like when I do that. I don't like when an EV makes me hit the off button. It's an EV, it's a computer on wheels. You know to turn off, right? Anyway, yeah, aesthetically, it's very different, and I think I love it. So the question is, yeah, would you go IONIQ 5 over IONIQ 6? Would you go IONIQ 6 over IONIQ 5? And if so, let me know why. Also, in shooting this video, I did something a little bit different. Actually, I did two things. One of them is a new microphone. Let me know if that helped. The other thing I'm not going to tell you. And I just want to see if you can tell what's different about this video. Okay, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys later. Peace.